We're in the middle of the first 18, and we are looking at the sayings of the Gospel of Thomas manuscript. And we're looking at them now as a global teaching method. We find ourselves now with a group of 3 sayings, and they are all themed around the word casting. Now, within the Gospel of Thomas, there were many different techniques that were used to hide the meanings of the sayings. When we think of the troubles that the early followers were going through in the first century, it was a very dangerous time. And there was often the use of hominin words that are spelt and look the same but have different meanings. And it's one of those techniques that we find often within the sayings. So we're now going to look at a group of 3, 1.7, 1.8 and 1.9. As I say, they revolve around the word casting. 1.7, the kingdom is like a wise fisherman who casts his net into the sea. He drew it up from the sea full of small fish. Amongst them, the wise fisherman found a fine large fish. He threw all the small fish back into the sea and chose the large fish without hesitation. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. 1.8. Hear this, the sower came out. He filled his hand with seed and cast them. Some fell on the road, and the birds came and gathered them. Others fell onto rocks and sent no roots down into the earth, so did not produce any grain. Others fell into the thorns, which choked the seed, and the worms ate them. Others fell onto good earth and produced a great crop, 60 by measure, 120 by measure. 1.9, Jesus said, I have cast fire upon the world, and as you see, I will watch over it until it burns. 1.7. As with most of the sayings, there are 2 ways that we can look at this. Often there is one that stands out, and that is very often the way that the saying is interpreted. And then there is quite often a second way to look at the saying. So the first way here is that the global consciousness, that consciousness that is responsible for the evolution of the human population, is casting its net out. It is the teacher, and it often speaks through the enlightened person like Jesus. So that net is thrown out across the world. What it usually gathers is many people who are curious, but they're not quite ready to go further. They've got a fascination in the subject. They've kind of got this kind of vague spirituality that is beginning to show. But they're regarded here as the small fish, and they are the ones that are put back so that they can mature a bit more. The large fish here, which the fisherman is trying to catch, is that person who has the calling, that thing inside of them which is beginning to take over their lives, that fascination with everything anything spiritual. They've been off in every direction, followed every teacher, because they know that there is something that they have to find. They are the large fish. And if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you are the large fish that is needing to be caught. There is a second way to look at this, and that is that you are the fisherman. And you, as the fisherman, are casting your net in every direction, looking for the teacher, looking for the big fish that you need to catch, because it is that person or that path that you need to draw in towards you. So we can see this in two different ways, and they're both happening both at the same time. You are a person of potential. Your living spirit has chosen you on purpose. There's nothing random or accidental that you are beginning to awaken. Your living spirit is a mature one, and it has found you, that human body that has the right DNA. It has the right family environment. It has the right inner code within it to awaken. Your living spirit has chosen you on purpose because you have the potential to awaken. When you do begin to awaken, you start looking in every direction to find that information, to find that teacher that you need for that awakening to happen. What's missing is that you've never been told that you have a living spirit within you that you can interact with, that you can join with, that will give you that awakening. So you continue to look outside of yourself to find that information, because it's not readily available. People aren't speaking of the living spirit as something that exists. It's an extraordinary situation that we've got ourselves into. So the teacher and the student and the teacher are looking for each other all of the time. Now you're here, now you're in the right place. 1.8 is about the sower, and we'll quite often come back to the sower. And you can understand that it is the sower who is throwing out the seed. He's throwing out the spiritual knowledge, and sometimes it falls on rocky ground and nothing happens to it. Sometimes it is the birds that pick it up. Now, I'll introduce the birds here because the birds come back into the sayings at different times. The birds are a negative entity. They're not the lovely things that sit on your bird feeders that you can look and love in your garden. They're seen as a negative thing within the sayings. And here it is the birds that come and pick up the seeds and take them away. Sometimes the seed falls on fertile soil. You are the fertile soil that the seeds are falling into. It is the consciousness within the words of the sayings, within what I'm conveying to you, that go in. We are planting the seeds of change within you right now. You are the fertile soil, and that's what's happening. It tells us in this saying that once the seed has gone in, and once change and unity and awakening has happened, then the return on the crop is 60 times greater, 120 times greater, because you as a person will spread that knowledge. And that's how this becomes a global message. It's an extraordinary thing which is happening. It is the Didymus Judas Thomas. It is the conveying of consciousness between one person and another. What an extraordinary thing. 1.9 confirms that. Jesus says, I have cast fire upon the world, and I will watch over it until it burns. Currently, that spiritual knowledge is in a very dormant state. Remember, this document was written in the 1st century. It was banned in the 3rd century. And it was put into the ground. And that's where it's been since the 3rd century until 1945, when it was dug up. But even in the early centuries, it was misinterpreted because the writers and the original users would have all died off. And what remains is a document that, as we can see, people can read into perhaps just one level of what it's trying to tell us. Without the code, without the numbers, without the sequences, you only get one level of information. You don't get down into the real nuts and bolts of what this is about. It's only when you put these things together that you get the themes that come through. This is the first time in 2,000 years that we've been able to read this manuscript in the way that it was written, the way that it was designed. It was designed to help people of potential individually awaken. Jesus says, I will watch over it until it burns. Currently, we're just getting smouldering that is happening. So an astonishing series of 3 sayings, all linked together by the word casting, and it gives us another layer of understanding and another layer of experience, which is going to help us awaken not only from the physical side that we understand, but these sayings are going in and they are awakening the living spirit. They are like triggers. They're this code that the living spirit has been waiting for to start that awakening process, because the physical you starts to change, starts to look in, starts to sense that there is something else for them to find. They work in an incredible way, and they were working on 2 different levels as you read and understand them.